She opened her door to a bleeding stranger with a price on his head and every reason to let him die in the snow. He came looking for one night of shelter, but found something neither of them expected. Now a widow who trusted no one and an outlaw running from his past must choose between the safety of loneliness and a love that could destroy them both. The stranger came to Clara Dawson's door on the coldest night of February, bleeding from a wound in his side and carrying nothing but a worn leather satchel and trouble in his eyes. She should have turned him away. Any sensible widow living alone on the edge of the New Mexico territory would have bolted the door and reached for her late husband's rifle. But Clara had stopped being sensible the day she buried Thomas 3 years ago and decided to keep running the ranch by herself despite what every man in Copper Creek told her. "Please," the stranger said, his voice rough as sandpaper. His dark hair was matted with sweat, and his face had gone the color of winter ash. "I won't bring harm to you. I just need one night to rest, and I'll be gone before sunrise." Clara looked past him into the darkness. Snow was falling thick and fast, covering the hard ground in white silence. No horses followed. No torches flickered in the distance. "Who shot you?" she asked. "Men who had their reasons." "That's not an answer. It's the only one I've got." She studied him for a long moment. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with the kind of weathered face that suggested years of hard living under open skies. His clothes were worn but well made, and despite the pain clearly racking his body, he held himself with a quiet dignity that spoke of something more than common criminality. Against every instinct, Clara stepped aside and let him in. His name, he told her while she cleaned and dressed his wound by lamplight, was Elijah Crane. He said it like he expected her to recognize it, and when she didn't react, something like relief crossed his face. "You're not from around here," Clara said. It wasn't a question. Colorado originally, been moving since then, running from something, running towards something. Or I was until tonight. The bullet had gone clean through his side, missing anything vital by what could only be called a miracle. Clara had nursed enough injured cattle hands over the years to know what she was looking at. He'd heal, given time and care. "You can stay in the barn," she said. "There's a wood stove out there and blankets in the chest. Morning comes, you keep whatever promise you made and disappear." "Yes, ma'am." But morning came with a blizzard that buried the ranch under 3 feet of snow, and Elijah Crane didn't disappear. He couldn't, not without dying in the white wilderness that stretched in every direction. And something strange happened in those snowbound days. Clara found herself looking forward to his company. He was quiet, never pushing for conversation, but when they did talk, she discovered a mind sharp as any she'd encountered. He knew poetry, could quote Shakespeare and Byron from memory. He played the battered harmonica he kept in his satchel with a melancholy skill that made her heart ache in ways she'd forgotten she could feel. And he worked, despite his injury, insisting on earning his keep by fixing the broken fence posts in her barn and mending the leak in her roof that Thomas had never gotten around to repairing. "You're not what I expected," she told him one evening, as they sat by the fire with cups of bitter coffee. "What did you expect? A criminal, a killer, the kind of man who collects bullet wounds like other men collect debts." Elijah's jaw tightened. "I've been called worse. Were they right? The men who shot you, did they have just cause?" He was silent for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then he reached into his satchel and pulled out a folded piece of paper, yellowed and worn at the creases. A wanted poster. His own face stared back at her, rendered in crude ink beneath bold letters that read, "Elijah Crane, wanted for robbery, $500 reward." Clara felt her stomach drop. "So you are an outlaw." "I was. 5 years ago I rode with the Garrett gang. We robbed banks, stagecoaches, and anyone else who had something worth taking. I won't pretend otherwise or make excuses." He folded the poster and put it away. "But I haven't taken anything that wasn't mine in 3 years. I've been working honest jobs, trying to make right what I made wrong. That's what I was doing when those men found me." Bounty hunters who don't care that I've changed. The price on my head is the same whether I'm reformed or not. Why should I believe you? You shouldn't. You've got no reason to trust a word I say." He met her eyes, and there was something raw in his gaze, something vulnerable that he couldn't hide. "All I can tell you is that when I leave here, I'm heading to Santa Fe. There's a man there named Judge Harrison who's been looking into old cases, granting clemency to men who've proven they've changed. I've got letters from every town I've worked in, testimonials from preachers and sheriffs and ordinary folks, 3 years of evidence that Elijah Crane isn't the man he used to be." Clara wanted to doubt him. It would have been so much easier to doubt him, but she'd spent 3 years being doubted herself. 3 years of men telling her a woman couldn't run a ranch alone, couldn't survive without a husband, couldn't possibly know what she was doing. 3 years of proving them wrong day after grinding day. "The snow will clear by week's end," she said. "Stay until then, heal properly, then go get your clemency." Something shifted in his expression. Gratitude, yes, but something else too. Something that made her pulse quicken in ways that had nothing to do with fear. The week passed too quickly. They fell into a rhythm, working side by side during the days and talking late into the nights. Elijah told her about his childhood in Colorado, about the mother he'd lost young and the father whose cruelty had driven him to the outlaw life. Clara told him about Thomas, about the love they'd shared and the dreams they'd built together before fever took him in a single terrible week. He was a good man, she said, kind, patient. Everything I needed when I was young and frightened of the world. And now I'm not young anymore. And I've learned not to be frightened. On the last night before the roads cleared, Elijah kissed her. It happened simply, naturally, like something that had been waiting to happen since the moment she'd opened her door. They were standing on the porch, watching the stars emerge from behind the retreating clouds, and he turned to her with such tenderness in his eyes that she knew what was coming before their lips met. The kiss was gentle at first, questioning. Then she pressed into him, her hands finding his chest, his heartbeat strong beneath her palms. He made a sound low in his throat and pulled her closer, and for one perfect moment, everything else fell away. The past, the uncertainty, the morning that would separate them. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Elijah rested his forehead against hers. "Come with me," he said. "Elijah, I know it's madness. I know I have nothing to offer you but hope and risk. But Clara, a haven. T felt this way and longer than I can remember. Maybe never. You're extraordinary, and I don't want to spend the rest of my life wondering what might have been." Her heart was racing. Part of her wanted to say yes more than she'd wanted anything in years. But she looked out at the ranch, at the land she'd fought so hard to keep, and shook her head. "This is my home. Thomas built it for us. I can't abandon it." Elijah nodded slowly, pain flashing across his face before he mastered it. "I understand. Get your pardon," she said. "Become a free man. And then maybe we can talk about what comes next." He left at dawn, riding one of her horses with a promise to send it back from Santa Fe. Clara stood on the porch and watched him until he disappeared over the horizon, and then she went inside and cried for the first time since Thomas's funeral. 3 months passed with no word. Clara told herself she was foolish to expect any. Mail service was unreliable, the roads were dangerous, and 100 things could have gone wrong. Elijah might have been captured before he reached Santa Fe. He might have forgotten about her entirely. The kiss on her porch just a pleasant memory overshadowed by his new life as a pardoned man. She threw herself into work. Spring brought new calves and 100 demands on her time. She hired 2 hands to help with the ranch, young men who didn't ask questions and did what they were told. Life continued. It always continued. Then, on a warm afternoon in May, she looked up from mending a fence to see a rider approaching from the east. Her heart stopped. She would have known that silhouette anywhere. Elijah dismounted 20 feet from her, his face split in a grin wider than any she'd ever seen. He looked different, lighter somehow, as if a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. He held up a piece of paper, waving at Ica flag. Judge Harrison granted my clemency, he called out. Full pardon. I'm a free man, Clara. Free to go wherever I want, do whatever I want, love whoever I want. She was running before she knew she'd moved. She crashed into him hard enough to stagger them both, her arms around his neck, her lips finding his. He caught her and kissed her back with a hunger that left no doubt about the months of wanting that had built up in his absence. When they finally came up for air, he was laughing. I take it you're happy to see me? You took your time getting back here. I had things to settle, debts to pay, old wrongs to make right as best I could. He cupped her face in his hands, his expression turning serious. I didn't want to come back to you still dragging the past behind me. I wanted to come back clean, whole, worthy of you. You were always worthy of me. You just didn't believe it. He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, the tip of her nose. I brought something else too. He reached into his saddlebag and pulled out a small velvet box. Clara's breath caught as he opened it to reveal a simple gold band set with a small but perfect diamond. I know this is fast, he said. I know we've only known each other a matter of months, but I also know that I spent 3 years wandering this country looking for something without knowing what it was. And then I collapsed on your doorstep and suddenly I knew. It was you, Clara. It was always going to be you. Elijah, you don't have to answer now. You don't have to answer ever if you don't want to, but I'm staying either way. I'll buy land here, build a place of my own, work honest and true for the rest of my days. And I'll court you proper, the way you deserve for as long as it takes to. Yes, she said. He blinked. What? Yes, I'll marry you. Yes to everything. Yes to fast and reckless and probably foolish. Yes, because I've spent 3 years being sensible and careful and alone and I'm tired of it. Yes, because when you left, something left with you. And I don't want to feel that empty ever again. He slid the ring onto her finger with trembling hands, then lifted her off her feet and spun her around until they were both dizzy and laughing. They were married 3 weeks later in the small church, in Copper Creek, with half the town in attendance, despite their shocked whispers about the widow Dawson and the mysterious stranger who'd swept into her life. Clara wore a dress she'd sewn herself, white cotton with blue wildflowers embroidered along the hem. Elijah wore a new suit that he kept tugging at nervously until she took his hand and steadied him. No more running, she whispered as they stood before the preacher. No more running, he agreed, just living. With you. The years that followed weren't always easy. They faced drought and disease, harsh winters and harder summers. There were lean times when they wondered if they'd make it through, and there were nights when old demons, his guilt, her grief, came calling in the darkness. But they faced it all together. They expanded the ranch, built it into something Thomas would have been proud of. They raised 3 children who grew up knowing the value of hard work and second chances. And every night, without fail, they sat on the porch and watched the sun set over the New Mexico sky, hands intertwined, hearts full. Elijah had come to her door wounded and hunted, a man with a price on his head and nowhere left to run. He'd found something he hadn't been looking for. A home, a purpose, a love that transformed him from outlaw to honest man. And Clara had opened that door expecting trouble. Instead, she'd found the thing she'd convinced herself she didn't need anymore, a future worth believing in. The stranger had become her husband. The widow had become whole. And the ranch on the edge of nowhere had become exactly what it was always meant to be. A place where broken things were mended, where past sins were forgiven, and where love, stubborn, unexpected, enduring love, could take root and flourish in the hard western soil.